So we just received a CNC machine from Metal Maslow, and we're going to unbox it and see what all we got. So now that we have everything unboxed, you have a bunch of wires, power cords, you have the housing, which has a Keystone version of the Arduino. And in here you already have the shield pre-attached. You have the motor controller and gearbox, you have the linkage arms for the base plate. You have a box full of nuts, bolts, pulleys, and also 3 heat sinks which go on these 3 spots. You have 2 more bags full of bolts. You have some change for the X and Y travel. You have power source. You have some pulleys with some ropes, and you also have the router and router clamp. The next step in the process is to build the sled. The base has 4 or 5 countersinks, and that's actually going to be the bottom of the base. We're going to attach both linkage arms to the base. And so at this step we have the linkage arms attached to the base. The next step is going to be to attach the Z-axis to the main base plate. And the first step is that we're going to undo these 4 screws. Actually, it's going to be on this side, the one without the extra shaft. And since this is the bottom, which is actually going to be on the surface of your part, we need to flip it over. And then put this back on. I'm just going to slide this a little bit off out of view so I can get to the screws. now I have 2 of the screws in. It's still kind of wobbly, which is good because it gives me the ability to put in the other 2 screws and screw those in. I'm just tightening them down about halfway and then going 1 screw at a time, little by little. Alright, so now we have the Z-axis firmly attached to the main base plate. And so currently we're using these 2 screws to hold the linkage arms on, and then these 4 screws to hold the Z-axis on. Next we're going to put on the clamp for the router. And again, I'm just not going to put these on super tight yet. I'm just trying to line up all the holes to get them started. Then once they're all started in, then I'll secure it a little bit better. Alright, so now that the router clamp is in, we can take the actual router, go ahead and insert that in. Alright, so now we have the router in place. The last step is to attach the Z-axis motor. So we're going to take this clamp on the back side of the Z-axis. So now the clamp is on. Now we can go ahead and attach the actual motor. And as you can see, the motor shaft is offset, and I believe that the motor shaft needs to be located at the inside, so the belts along with the pulleys will fit. So with the motor closest in, you can see the pulley is correct, but if it's rotated 180 degrees at the pulley, is not going to fit. So you just need to make sure that the motor is rotated to its closest spot. So now that the Z-axis motor is installed, we can install the gears and also the belt. And there are 2 different gears. One has a bigger hole, the other has a smaller hole. So the bigger hole goes on the actual threaded shaft, and the smaller hole goes on the shaft that has a slot on it. And with the slot, you want to try to align one of the Allen bolts onto that slot. So when you try to put it on, so it wasn't going on because the two gears were too far apart and I couldn't slip it on. So what I'm going to do now is take off both of the gears, put the belt on, and then simply slip it on. As you can see now that the belt is on, now I just need to tighten them up. So at this point the Z-axis should be complete.